Hi everyone, I'm so excited for you to hear from Miranda Sallis of MegaPixx Media. She will be talking about the balance between corporate and entrepreneurship. So stay tuned for more. Welcome, I'm Milena Radakovic and this is WEDO Pay It Forward. Welcome back everyone to WEDO Pay It Forward. I am so excited to introduce you to my new guest, Miranda from MegaPixx Media. Miranda, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business?
We'll start with MegaPixx is an umbrella company that we started out of, I guess, Al's shop, if I'm being honest, around the idea of as we get further into the evolution of marketing and the idea of storytelling, there's not really an opportunity for small to medium businesses to be able to have a voice in the community. You know, unless you're getting a feature on like global TV or something like that, it's often hard to get media presence, and media buys become more and more expensive, and the way that we scroll and the way that we are engaged in just like split seconds of getting people's attention, we thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was an opportunity to tell local stories and to have a voice and to have a platform. And so we created MegaPixx in an effort to find a way for those small to medium businesses to be part of the community and part of the fabric of the intricacies of where we were at the time was 2020. Ironically, fast forward about 6 weeks into our brainchild and COVID hits, and so we had to pivot significantly. Our business model really relied on networking and the ability to get in front of people and to make a connection, and could we open that up? And so we did One Power Network group. That was a huge success, and a very interesting panel where we just brought a bunch of different sectors of people together to really just share in stories and best practices and make a new friend in the meantime. So we got a grandiose one done, and then we had to pivot, and it's been an interesting evolution, to say the least, from inception to where we are today. But we have now 12 open markets, YYC Business here in Calgary being one of our properties that we work on.
Well, I'm very grateful because WEDO Pay It Forward would not be alive if it wasn't for MegaPixx and YYC Business, because that's where Anta films the podcasts and they're stored on there. So thank you so much for that brainchild. And on top of it, I think it's incredible for the audience to know that this is not your full-time gig.
Yes. I'm often joke that I'm a silent partner in all of this because I come in and out of it. But yeah, I work for the Canadian Football League full-time, and so I balance this in my spare time as a passion project with my incredible business partners that bring about that entrepreneurial mindset and just that creativity and the power of the potential, essentially. Like, there's nothing off limits because we own it and we can play around with it, and that creative space is a nice little outlet in contrast to the creativity that I have with the league in my day-to-day.
I think that's fantastic. So we probably have a lot of people in the audience who have a full-time day job.
Yes.
And they're now, I have an idea. I want to start a business, but I'm a little bit hesitant, or I'm scared of the risks. Walk us through the idea that you guys did it and what made you say, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Great question. I think with any business idea, concept, small or massive, there's a few things. I think if you're working in a full-time capacity and you're looking for something to nurture, surround yourself with people that can help bring that passion to life. I think you have to care more than anyone else in that space. Like, if you have a 9-to-5 and you're like, wouldn't it be cool? If you don't have the brain capacity and the passion to make this your second mindset, it's not going to work, and it's not for the faint of heart. So if you have a vision and you have people that believe in you and you have the drive to build something and to have the luxury of time on your side to be able to sink into it, then I think take it and run with it, and don't let anybody tell you that your idea isn't a great idea, and you're gonna fail, and you're gonna have to pivot, and you might blow it up and start again 10 times. We were lucky that I had incredible business partners with different intersects and different experiences that we were able to kind of jumpstart with some best practices from other businesses that we'd all endeavored in and other investment things that we've done. So we were able to expedite those learnings a little bit, but I think you have to be ready to fail.
No,
and if that doesn't scare you, give her.
No, I agree 100%. And it's probably, so there's some people out there who are either thinking of being a solopreneur or looking at engaging in the partner to start their new business. Tell us a little bit, what are some tidbits that you could offer someone who is looking to work with a partner? What would be a great learning that you have, because you have 2 partners, not just 1, 2 partners, but working with them. Oh, 3 partners. Oh, okay. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, like the dynamics of working in partnerships?
Yeah. I think at the core of it, you have to have a lot of trust. And you have to be willing to pick each other up and to call each other on things that you might not align on, and really beat up ideas. I think that's the blessing and a curse to having partnership, is that if you're doing it all on your own, it can be very isolating. It can be very scary to put yourself out there.
Right.
If you have partners, you have a bit of a safety net, but then you also have more voices in the room.
So this is a really good segment, because we've never had anybody on that had a partner. So can you share with us maybe an experience? And it doesn't have to be like, I mean, I'm a big believer in vulnerability, but maybe share an experience that's a learning of where there might have been some conflict on an idea or on a pivot, and how you work together to get to the outcome.
Okay, so as we mentioned, I have 3 strong business partners. They each bring a very different intersect, both from their professional and personal lives. We come from all different backgrounds, we're all different ages. And so with that, we're gonna have different approaches to business. And so very early on, I think COVID was the perfect incubator for what are we gonna do now? And so when that happened, there was definitely some strain on a new relationship and a new partnership of like, what do we do? Do we double down? Do we pivot completely? Do we put this on pause until we know what the world's gonna do? And we each had our own level of risk, essentially, of what we were comfortable with doing. So we had to have a lot of very transparent conversations about what are we willing to contribute, both financially and emotionally, and you know, and what are we willing to do to make sure that we have success. And so ultimately we were able, because we all come from very strong business backgrounds, we were able to be very strategic about, okay, here are the KPIs, here are the financial restrictions, here's what we're willing to personally invest to continue to have this go, and when we hit X, Y, and Z, here's our pull shoot moments, where if we're not all aligned, we agree that we're not ready to move forward. And so we were able to, again, in Al's shop, distanced with our masks on, we were able to navigate the best way to go about that left us all feeling comfortable. Because with any entrepreneurial engagement, people have different risk levels, and they're very, you know, bet on yourself type of mentality. And so we had to decide, what can we do to bet on the collective, and what is the lowest common denominator to make everybody feel comfortable. And that's ultimately where we went, is we had some specific measurables, and I think if you can't get to that, you can't move forward. But that's where good business practice and just grounding yourself, and what are some practical points of time where you can say, is this working or is this not? And then it wasn't personal, because we had this number, this time and place, this, you know, these objectives that we could then put our emotions aside and say, okay, we're all pulling in this direction, but if we don't hit these certain targets in certain times, then we all agree that this isn't going to be able to move forward. So yeah.
I love that. You know, I'm a big believer in KPIs with my team. We always set it, so each department has their own KPIs. We have our vision, our short-term and long-term, and we create the goals that are quantitative and qualitative as well. So I think that's a really good learning from it. where would you see is the next growth? Because it's been 4 years since your brainchild has come together. What are you looking forward to for the future for the organization?
We've used YYC Business as a bit of an incubator, an opportunity to test the water and test our theories around engaging these businesses and creating a true, I think, successful network that we can rely on and engage with. And so I think the future and the growth is taking those best practices and those learnings and applying it now to our open market across 14 other cities, and finding incredible people like Enta Solutions and Caitlin and Adam to make sure that our day-to-day operations look and feel the way that we want them to, and that our brand is now present in an everyday household scenario would be the perfect world.
I love that. So start off small, make sure that it's got a really good heartbeat going to it, and then just duplicate it in other markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great experience share.
Leverage best practices, right? We talked about like the corporate structure. There's lots of learnings that I take from my 9 to 5 into, well, this is a frustrating moment, or this is a best practice that I never would have thought of. Let's use this. Because at the end of the day, when you're passionate about something, you can put passion first. But if you don't ground that in a good business model with sound KPIs and, you know, what are we going to decide success is? And for that, is it this or is it this? Whether you're a partner or solo, you need to take your passion hat off just for a moment, just long enough to look at it realistically and say, how am I going to measure success? And if you can do that, I mean, that's how corporations are built. Somebody started something.
That's right.
You know, Nike started in a garage. Like, look at all these big corporations. So your idea can be as big or as small as you want it to be, and that's the fun of being an entrepreneur.
I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Miranda.
You're very welcome.
One more question.
Yes.
How can the audience get a hold of you?
All right, so the best way to get hold of me, obviously I'm active on LinkedIn. Miranda Sallis is my handle, as well as you can find us on YYC Business and MegaPixx Media. My email is miranda@megapixmedia.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, audience, and stay tuned for more. Thank you to our sponsor, Bruno Lindia of Dream Reach Achieve, for paying it forward for women entrepreneurs and business leaders. If you are inspired and want to join the We Do community, then go on WeDoCanada.com and also nominate and sponsor the next inspirational woman.